And we have just finished turn 6, and we're ready to start turn 7, which is 1300 hours. And in turn 7, the Japanese have another new action available to them, which is P, which can mean lots of different things, as I recall. One of them is patrol, and let's see if I can. Well, you get the general idea. For those who haven't played the game, each one of these means a number of different things that the Japanese robot, as it were, the Japanese commander, we'll call him, can do that they wouldn't have been able to do before with that letter not there. So that one, for example, is muster and is mortar. This one here is patrol and, well, other things beginning with P, which I can't remember off the top of my head. Anyway, so let's see, how are things progressing? We've got this unit is about to come on now. Good, strong unit. And as we can see, we've definitely got movement off the beach here. Over in the critical losses here, we have lost a total of 8 over there. And at the moment, catastrophic loss would be 14. So we're quite a way away from that, which is good. Let's try and keep those numbers down, keep our eyes on our lads and keep them safe. Although, of course, we have to press forward with determination. The bold commander wins the day, hopefully. Yes, so as we can see, we've cleared these positions here, which has given us a great deal of freedom. Moved up to this position here, and we're getting ready. We've got a lot of quite powerful units up here now, getting ready to pounce on the center of the airfield here. Try and bag that one, because of course it's the units that can fire onto the beach, rather the Japanese positions that can fire onto the beach. And then besides that, we need to bag 14 Japanese positions that begin with the letter B. And I cleared that one. Let's see, is that a B position there? I'm not sure it is, actually. No, it's an A position. So I cleared that one so we'd have more latitude to be able to get up to this position here. But that's an A, and that's an A, and that's an A. And so although those two, as we can see, can fire onto the beach, one thing I need to do is I do need to man them. I've got to get units in there, and then we get into the whole thing of garrisons, which will become available starting, I believe, the next turn. We've got the beginning, turn 8, we've got the beginning of the US HQ phase, in which that can produce garrison markers under the right circumstances. But anyway, so I've got to hang on to those, and then basically move this way, grabbing lots and lots of B positions. We have had, of course, the Japanese counterattack, and as I understand it, again, I haven't got all the rules in my head, but I think there can only be one counterattack. So that means if you draw a card that says counterattack again, I think you just simply ignore it. So it's just a one counterattack. And we've had, so far, that has produced an actual combat. That has produced combat from this tank unit here, which is disrupted. And what happened there was they either, when tanks are in, or I think any unit is in counterattack, they either move or they engage in close combat. This unit here did that, did not win, and so had to get placed back at the nearest available position, which is there. And then let's see, these counter-attacking units here, the tank there, and the tank there, they just haven't made it into close enough to the enemy yet. They're trying to get to positions where they can fire onto the beach. So these chaps would love to get here, which they will in their next turn. These chaps are going to have a crack at them on the next turn. We know for a fact that that's going to happen. So I've tried to get as much beef in there as I can. It's not a huge amount, but try to get some numbers in there. And also they get, I think, support in the way that the close combat cards are dealt with, if I remember correctly. If there are units friendly units, US units, adjacent to the hex, because that gives them sort of a bit of beefy support, as it were, theoretically. So they're in a good position, it seems to me. Here, we've basically evacuated from this end of, what is that? That's the northernmost section of the beach, because we were getting massacred by the fire here. And the best they could do with the hero in charge was to pull back to this position, where at least in that position, they've only got steady fire. They have not got intense fire. So because these two units here are, I believe they're both about getting ready to break and be added to the losses pile. Let's see, we've got, of course, 3 regimental HQ units in play. So we go 1, 2, 3, and they're marvelous, of course, because they can command all the units adjacent to them until they move themselves. And that's been great. We've got lots of HQ units in play as well, which is helping. Let's see. This unit here, for example, is down on the beach, and I've left it down on the beach because I don't want to bring into play. I don't want to push forward units like that unit there, especially, for example. I don't want to push forward units, and that one there, which with one more step loss would be eliminated. So we don't want to do that. That's all very logical and brought out by the mechanics of the game. Okay. One thing that took a while to get my head around, of course, was that the step losses are permanent. They don't represent a temporary loss of morale. They can be rallied off. They don't represent in a more strategic level game where you'd have replacements or something like that. Step losses are permanent. So yes, choose your attacking positions wisely. So in terms of what's going to happen next, generally speaking, I suppose it would be a sort of movement up here with lots of chaps who are going to have to be plucky fellows to just run through this area and attack these chaps here. Now, the good thing is that the tanks here, all they're going to do is go forward and try and lock horns. We know they're not going to come after us if we go up in this direction. And then we've got, let's see, we've put them out of action. So really, if we can stay out of the fire, the intense fire at least, of blue, the blue position there and the green position there, then the only thing we've got to worry about is the red position here. These chaps are disrupted. Hopefully they'll stay disrupted. Intense fire there, but no intense fire here. So if we can get up there with a few stacks, we should be able to bag that. You don't know. I mean, obviously these chaps here, they could have they could be worth 4, they could be worth 1. So it might be a piece of cake. That's the marvelous thing about this game. You don't know. And then from there, well, it's onwards and, well, not onwards and upwards, it's onwards and northwards, I suppose. Go over this way, and then finally, for the grim work, we'll have to go west and scrub out these chaps down here, get them the hell off the island, the hell out of our way, and we'll see how we can do. And we've got, this is turn 7, so we've got turns 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So we've got 6 turns to accomplish whatever we're going to do. And it's splendid. I'm very much enjoying it. The rules very new, so there's a lot to get your head round that you've never dealt with before. Absolutely. Same could be said of Ambush, for example, or, of course, many of the other purpose-built solitaire games, such as those from, for example, DVG, Dan Versen. Once you get your head around it, it's excellent. It's because there are so many choices for the commander to make on his turn. Well, right. I mean, isn't that enough? So let's go on and do turn 7. And I say, as usual, here's to it. Oh, and by the way, Semper Fi, Mac. And we've just finished turn 7. So we now move to turn 8, which is 1400 hours, where we see the introduction of the US HQ phase. So that means we will be able to place and increase HQ command posts and place garrison markers. So that's the next concept we're going to sort of read up on in the rules, as it were. Turn 8, the catastrophic loss level has gone up to 16 now. And we can see over here that we have lost a total of 9 units. So that means that, remember that actually, I should say that there are 9 counters there. Means that those units have suffered 50% losses, because if you have a unit that it started out with a strength of 7 and then it's gone down to 5 and then it is removed and replaced, of course, by a unit that looks like this sort of a thing with 2 steps, and then finally a 1-step unit like that. And if that unit was lost, then it would go in that box as well, which would represent, you'd have 2 counters in there representing a 100% loss of the unit. So these actually mean that 9 different units are down to 50% strength. That's just that's what it actually means. But in game terms, you've got 9 units in the box. And on turn 8, if you had 16 in there, you would have lost the game. Right. In the meantime, what happened in turn 7, the main thing that happened was, let's see, we had Japanese tank unit once again came into close combat here, and I had deliberately positioned strong US forces for it to attack. You know where it's going, as it were. You're baiting it. And sure enough, they were destroyed outright eventually by the US forces. In the sort of grand tactical view of what's going on, I realized that I did some looking at the numbers, and although in the previous turn everybody was sort of slowly edging up towards this way, getting ready to stay out of the way of this green position here, and getting ready to lock horns with the red position here at the center of the airfield. But it seems to me that, unless I'm missing something, that position there is simply best avoided. What we have to do is we have to take 10 units that can fire. We have to clear 10 positions that can fire onto the beach, or rather we have to secure 10 positions that can fire onto the beach. And then we also have to secure 14 positions that are in the B region. And so the A region, for example, which we need not concern ourselves with other than as positions that can fire onto the beach. The A positions are basically to the right, as it were, of this. So this lot sort of over here, I'm not quite sure what they're called up there. No, they're called A. All right. So if you look at this line here, that way is all A. So we don't have to take them. We did take this position here because we thought it would clear the way on to taking this B position here. But then the American commander rather thought to himself, how about if we just leave that alone, stay down here, which is, what is that, in the sort of southwest, just leave that alone, and we'll clear the beaches, and we'll go after B positions down in this neck of the woods, but we'll just avoid that one, because the problem is you've got all these intensive fire around here. It's got depth, who knows what sort of strength it's got, so it can shoot at 2 units, etc., etc., etc. You have to stop when you enter an intensive fire hex. So that means if you were moving up to engage these, you'd have to go blah, 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 and you get to here, stop, and they might be able to fire at you there, then in their turn. And then if you pressed on the attack, you'd get to here, stop, they get another chance to fire at you, and then finally you'd be able to engage them in combat. So anyway, so the idea was, let's stay down here and let's move that way. I've also, rather the American commander, has also left forces here to be able to come up in this direction, because we need to garrison this position here, garrison this position here, and also we want to get into this and take this, which is going to be tough because they've got a depth marker there, tougher, but we want to get that so that we're getting another position which can fire onto the landing beach, which it can just in that one hex. Oh, messed that up. one hex there, as we can see. You can fire into that hex. So we'd like to grab that. May not be necessary because we're going down here and grabbing these. I haven't actually done the math on that one. But anyway, you get the general idea. To do that, there are probably the forces down here right now are probably rather stronger than is needed to do that. But the one thing I have noticed, of course, is that, as one might imagine, I saw that it's definitely a mistake to leave a position unoccupied. I know there's a lot of rules about whether or not it would be in communication with Japanese units and so forth, but one thing that happened was there was a reinforcement action showed up, and the way I played it was that the unit that was here moved 3 hexes to here, because as near as I could see, there wasn't anything in the rules saying that it had to stop in the jungle. US units, when they move, they have to stop as soon as they've entered a jungle hex. So if a US unit was there, for example, and they wanted to move down this way, it would go there and stop. Okay, I didn't notice anything about Japanese units having to do that if they redeploy, and I think they had an R for redeploy, and I moved them 1, 2, 3 down to here. I'm always, if anything, I'm erring on the side of making things tougher for, well, the player, let's put it that way, the American commander. So that's what I did. I moved them in there. They were then attacked. They were basically surrounded. So they were already surrounded, let's say. So they were attacked, and we saw them off. And well, I mean, they being the enemy, I mean, I say here's to it. So yeah, so we've probably got rather stronger forces than necessary, so we'll be presumably moving some of them this way as well. But down here we've got extremely tough nuts to crack, as it were. Then we've also got the Japanese counterattacking units who are going to close into close combat with us, of course, on the next turn, before we get a chance to move. And in anticipation of that, I put strong units up in the front, as it were, to, basically stand there and say, hey, you want a piece of me? Huh? You want a piece of me? That sort of a thing. Yes, but all very exciting stuff. Very good. Thoroughly enjoying the game. Well, let's press on. Right, now we're actually still in turn 8, and the US action phase has started. I've done just a few moves. We can see from the units that are twisted, there we go. We've moved those units into place, and that's actually a sign of the times, because again, I don't know. Obviously, I don't know the balance of what's appropriate, what are good tactics and what are not. But had a bit of a mix-up. What happened was I actually just started making a video, the next step of the video, and I realized that what I was describing had happened so far in the turn was incorrect. I'd made a big mistake. The mistake I had made was that in the Japanese fire phase, the Japanese had, as we can see up here, we can see a purple result there with an A in it, and that's A for assault, an A for ambush, an A for artillery, and all these things. And I went ahead and did all those with lots of interesting results. Unfortunately, that was entirely incorrect, because A only comes on at turn 9. So if it had been the next turn, we would have been all right. So I then had to go and fortunately, of course, I take photographs and I take videos, so I was able to sort of reset everything that had happened. But I'll tell you, I do not like those assaults. I mean, we was assaulted by them enemy soldiers, and all that sort of thing, on the artillery and an ambush, and good lord. So what it's taught me is don't leave positions lying around unoccupied, because all kinds of saucy things can happen to unoccupied positions. Suddenly people will appear, and people will ambush you and all that sort of thing. And then also down here, it was kind of useful in a way because it got me ready for what's coming. These two units down here, for example, conducted assaults. They decided to put their boots on and sally forth. So they did. They sallied forth in this direction, and because I had very thin units down here, they beat the bejesus out of them. And we came within 2 units of having a catastrophic loss. Anyway, I've reset everything as it should be, and now we've got 12 units over there, so we've still got four. 4 more units would have to be lost in this turn, which is only now the U.S. action phase basically left. So, I mean, yes, I could declare close combat on lots of different badly chosen enemies, and I could lose 4 units, and that would be it. I would have lost the battle. But I'm going to be a bit more conservative than that, as we may imagine. But it certainly taught me a lesson that you need to get these positions occupied. And of course, one of the ways to do that is to garrison them. And to garrison them, now that we have the US HQ phase available, we can start doing that once we put a peg in the ground and start making some command posts. There are only 3 that we can make because we've only got 3 regimental HQ counters. And the thing is, though, is that the site to be chosen for a command post is can be a bit of a pickle, because if it is in the field of fire of any Japanese position, whether it is occupied or not, note that, and the Japanese position is in communication, then you can't put a command post there. And so, for example, this regimental HQ here, he's got steady fire from this unit here, so can't put a command post there. As we can imagine, look, we've got intense fire, and then we've got steady fire there. Can't put a command post there. And then over here, I believe we could put a command post there, because although there are 2 fire symbols there, of course, we occupy that one, so that's that covered, and we also occupy that one, so that's that covered. So we could put a command post there, but I don't want to put stakes in the ground there. I want this HQ to move this way, basically. But what I have done is I have moved, or rather the American commander has done, is he has moved not... I was thinking of putting like extremely weak units, like perhaps a unit like that, into this position and this position, to just sort of say, right, okay, they're under my control, thank you very much. But the problem is that they can be counterattacked. If the Japanese get the right letter on the right color, then they will counterattack. And so the question is, of course, can I afford to leave units of that sort of strength way and back here? Because now I'm going to sweep this way, and I'd better get a move on, because including this turn, I've got, what, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I've got 5 turns in which to accomplish everything I have to accomplish. I've done a bit of sort of decision making, and basically decided that I'm not going to attempt to take this position here, which can fire under the beach, but I'm going to leave it, and this is just too much effort would have to go into that. So instead, I'm going to go this way and try and sort out some of these here that can fire under the beach. And also get me, they are Bs, which are the Bs are what I'm after, and these, of course, down here, the As, which are not what I'm after. So, anyway, so lots of lessons being learnt, and yes, yeah, very, very interesting, though, because as I say, I had read through the rules, and some areas are very at a very light level, and so you've basically got things happening where I don't even know that they could happen. Though I have to admit, there are probably the odd paragraph in the rules that I don't remember at all. So that's certainly what happened when the assault showed up and the ambush showed up, even though I was jumping the gun and I was doing it a turn too soon, so I had to reset. But it definitely keeps you on your toes. I love that fact that it's not sort of like, as I mentioned before, I think in some solo games, certainly was the case with, if I remember correctly, Field Commander Alexander, which I think I mentioned probably several hours ago. That I thought it was a very interesting game, but the one thing is that the enemy will not. The enemy basically doesn't move. Well, in this game, the enemy certainly does move, and it can assault you and do all kinds of nasty things. So here's to it. Press on, and we'll see how we do. And here we are. We finished turn 8, so we're now ready to start turn 9, which is the 1500 turn, 1500 hours, and we will get the introduction of letter A actions for the Japanese. And we can see that the catastrophic loss level has increased to 18. During their action phase, the Marines did not incur any losses, so they still have 12 counters over there. So they've got a bit more of a margin now. They've got 6. Of course, whether they can achieve victory remains to be seen. How many units they will lose on the way to victory will undoubtedly be bloody. Right, the U.S. commanders has had a bit of a change of heart, actually, which, of course, classic sort of military doctrine. Maintenance of aim is important, but he's basically decided, he is going to have a crack at, I believe it's B18 here, because we want to be able to come up here and this sort of thing, and it's just in the way, So, fortunately, due to I believe it's the tank unit, which is, I believe, here. Wasn't that unit, was it? Which unit was it? Was it this unit? Well, there was some unit somewhere was able to have a crack at have a pot at these chaps up here, and was able to disrupt them. I'm just going to check on something here and make sure I haven't moved the unit that did that. I had them all twisted and everything to make sure I knew which one was which. Hang on. Yeah, I suppose it must have been the what is it? It's like a landing amphibious landing vehicle. I'll just call it. I'm sure there's a technical name for that type of. I mean, it's a landing craft, yes, but it's tracked as well. One of the later types, as it were. So anyway, here's to it. Somebody got a pot at them and did a barrage and managed to disrupt the beggars. So the whole point there is, right, they're disrupted, so now let's have everybody move into their intensive fire area, which all these are intensive here, red dots, because they can't fire at them because they're disrupted. Now, you've got to go through 2 lots of that to get to these chaps. So it's a tough one. And note, of course, that is not always the case. I mean, as we can see, for example, B14 over here, they've got intensive fire projecting into here, but that's it. It's just the one. I suppose in this direction they project 2, but in this direction here they only project 1. And indeed, in this direction here they project nothing at all. So I suppose it's all a question of where the position is and where other buildings are and all that sort of thing. But now they've got a regular conning tower set up here that they can basically get 2 hexes worth at just about everybody. Anyway, it was decided that we would go for them, so we've lined up a whole bunch of people to be able to sort of have a go. We had a success here. We had a close combat. Where was that? It was around about this sort of area. We had a close combat against a Japanese counter-attacking tank unit, and that was destroyed. So that meant that that was one of the first things that were done. So it meant that we could sort of move forward and press on the attack, that sort of thing. We've tried to get the strongest units up front so that we don't have weak units up front which are going to be fired upon and or even possibly assaulted and lead to losses that would go over into the Marine Division Infantry Losses box. So we've tried to get some strong units up front. But even that, it's you work with what you have. So, for example, if losses were taken on a 4-step unit, we flip it over. But as we can see, there are lots of 3-step units up here, 1, 2, for example, and then there's so forth. And obviously, losses and them will go straight over into the box. So we're working with what we have. Down here, try to consolidate things a bit more so that we haven't got units with just 1 step in the front line, as it were, ready to be attacked or vulnerable to being attacked by these units here. So we've tried to gain from the experience that we had in the last turn when we made the mistake of having the assault. So now assaults are possible because we do have A showing up. And in other news, let's see, general consolidation, of course, as usual. We've tried to put some forces into these positions here so that they can't be occupied by the Japanese spontaneously, or they can't sort of decide to retake them and that sort of thing without a struggle. Okay, we've got some sort of struggle going on. And then also pushed forward the HQs and pushed forward this HQ. This HQ was the one that was in a position, I believe it was here, that was in a position that could have set up a command post, but that seemed like the wrong thing to do back there. Yes, it would have meant that within a couple of turns, they would have been able to command units 2 hexes away, so 1, 2, 1, 2, this sort of thing. But there's not much going on here, so it was decided that no, that regimental HQ was needed up at the front. So those units have been basically left to their own devices now, and if I want to command them, I will have to use the 2 free actions for the turn to be able to do that. So they've moved forward. Try to get. It's a good point to get everybody off the beach, because in artillery, for example, if you get an artillery action or an artillery card, that means that one of their priorities is to fire on the beach. So to get, that's these artillery units over here. So good idea to get off the beach. And I believe I have everyone off the beach now. Yes, everyone is indeed off the beach. You can use your preservation move, of course, to do that, and so forth and so on. So that's the situation. In summary, as we are now about to begin turn 9, so that's 9, 10, 11, 12. There are only 4 turns left. And considering what the Marines have to achieve in those 4 turns, at the moment, I would say, we look at our losses, and now in this turn, catastrophic loss is 18. We've got 12. So you could either look at that, of course, naively. You could look at that and say, oh, we're doing great. But it probably means that we've been doing too conservatively, and we haven't moved far enough forward. And if I did some calculations, it might even be possible to compute that, given the cycle of move, attack, that sort of thing, it might be possible. It might be the case that it's actually impossible for the Marines to win at this point. But I'm not going to worry about that right now, because I'm learning the game. I'm going to press on. I'm not going to, in other words, try to calculate whether or not it is still possible to win. At this point, I'm just going to press on, because I'm definitely going to play up to the end of turn 12 to get all the actions registered in my noggin. And yes, so in other news, it's pretty much the same situation. I'm keeping an eye on Zatu games here in the UK, because they do have they have D-Day at Omaha Beach is a product that they sell. It's in their catalog, as it were, online. But along with so many other games, a huge number of other games, it is out of stock. But back orders, restocking expected soon, but no particular date. So anyway, looking forward to that. Hopefully there'll be some change on that soon. And let's see, in other news, what happened? Oh, that's right. In other news, I got a deal on eBay I'm digressing here, I know. But I got a deal on eBay on a game whose name I can't remember. The Cruel Necessity, I believe it's called, which is solitaire, purpose-built, one player, the English Civil War. Yes. And I've always been interested in that. And I've got an extensive collection of 15mm painted English Civil War figures, which I was thinking if I liked the game, I might possibly look into maybe playing out some of the battles once in a while using 15mm figures and using a sort of slightly converted version of DBA for the rules to keep it simple, because I've always wanted to try and find some way of mixing up having a campaign that was basically based on a board game where the battles, as long as they were infrequent in the campaign, were fought out using miniatures. Anyway, and that would, of course, create a video spectacle, which would be jolly good for the channel. So, yes, ramble. And I say, here's to it. And here we are at the beginning of turn 10. That's the 1600 turn, 1600 hours. So we have the catastrophic loss level is now up to 20, and we can see over here that we have 12. So we've got quite some room there, as you might say, in a gallows humor sort of way. We've got room for some losses, but we've still got a long way to go. I haven't reset the counters, have I? They're all turned and everything from the last turn. But anyway, those are the general positions. And it's this one is going to be a real kicker because, of course, we've got so many, as we can see here. It's in for a penny, in for a pound. We've got lots and lots of units that are in intense fire zones. So, we'll see what happens if orange comes up, or if red comes up. We could see some serious casualties. Well, I'm going to press on.